Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Vulcan Shuttle build on prime time modelling. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Now, when we left last time, I said that we were going to start thinking about how to plan the lighting and how we're going to route the wires and such like. Now, I've made a little start sort of planning out how I'm going to actually try and connect the shuttle, the actual crew cab, to the bottom of the or to the top of the sled, which obviously is this part here. Now, what I've thought of doing is using brass strips, which will be glued into place with holes drilled in where the wires can then be soldered onto the back. Again, also onto the back of the bottom of the actual crew cab as well. I've actually made some copper strips that will lay over the top, where they will then also be drilled through and soldered to the back of that. Now, with the help of the magnets that are supplied in the kit to keep the top half together on top of the sled, that should give us enough contact so that when everything joins together, then the top half will light. Now, I've also tried or started to actually do the channeling for the wires for the sled. What I've actually done here is I've run a channel through. Let's try and get a bit of a shadow in there if I can. There we go. A channel inside there on both sides, so that we can run the magnet wire through into the nacelles. I've also, as you can see there, ground out some of the plastic so we can run the wires then, once they're all joined up, to then go through the stand. I've also dug out some of the plastic here. Where are we? There we go. So that when the lighthouse LED that I've cut the actual top off and filed flat is actually placed inside here, which I've cut out the space like so, which will fit in there nicely, which will then give us the rear navigation stroke marker light. That will all sit nicely on top of there and be flush. I've got to actually make a hole in there to actually join through so it goes onto the second part. I've also got to also figure out how to put another light on the front here. Again, another lighthouse LED, but what I've tried to figure out is that this section that goes underneath doesn't always go all the way forward, and sort of leaves sort of an area that's bland and thin. We can just make that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a filler that follows the shape of this panel here, and then also the outside of the sled, blend that in at the sides, and then that will actually then give me the depth where I can actually cut the hole for the lighthouse LED, which is here, and put one of those in there as well, and then eventually either put a clear piece of styrene or just put some canopy glue in there so that the actual light is covered with a type of lens, and then we'll move on to the nacelles. But at the moment, just using this as a basic guide, just so that we can sort of get a rough idea of what we're going to be doing next. What I'm going to do is add some more little SMDs like these ones here into the back here, so that we can get these thruster lights lit up. Might actually put a piece of styrene in here with those attached to it, so it actually directs the light into it, and then figure a way then of closing this up and light blocking it. I think what I might actually do is put the front on as well, spray the lens areas with a light coat of white, and then mask off to the exact sizes that I want. And then once this is all sealed up and the seams have been filled in, I will then go all over it with black, on the outside, which will then effectively give that a light block, and then we can move on and start onto the sled. Okay, now we may, as I said in the first video, go backwards and forwards using the old one that I had back from when I was a teenager to just practice on some bits. Now I have decided in the movie there are some lights that on each one in each side of the docking ports, which are sort of semicircles. They only light up when the ship is almost docked with the rear bridge access to the Enterprise in the film. Now I won't be doing that because this is hopefully going to be just displayed on the stand, so that actually won't be canon until it's actually left the sled. And also I'm not going to be lighting up the windows that are represented with the black decals. Again, in the movie those weren't lit up, so we're going to try and keep it as canon and as true to the motion picture as possible. Okay, so we'll carry on and we'll get on and do some more on the lighting of the crew cab. Okay, right, moving on. What I've done is to ensure that I get the lights lining up with the rear thruster ports. I've just made a blank template panel, if you like, and then just drill 2 holes in, so I can then place the actual SMDs inside here, glue them into place, and then hopefully we should have sort of as much light as possible shining into the thruster ports. What I'll do is I'll do that off camera. I'm just waiting for the actual SMDs to glue in properly, but as you can see, and then that should in theory bring the lights, where are we? There we go, through the top there. Okay, right, I shall glue that in and then we'll come back and see how good it looks. Okay, right, here we go. And as you can see, the wires are a little bit skitty at the moment, but there we go. Let's get that back on. There we go. As you can see, they're nice and bright inside there, and the SMDs are actually just exactly where I need them. You can probably just make out the hot spots on the camera there, but basically it's all glued in and still running off just a little 3-volt coin battery at the moment. What I'll now do is I'll just try all the other lights that I've already wired up just to see if they look okay. If not, then we'll decide then to whether start thinking about possibly going over to a 9-volt or even 2 coin batteries, which will make it a 6. Okay, right, let's carry on. Okay, right, just jury-rigged the front SMDs in as well. Still running on a 3-volt and still looking nice and bright. So I think that's possibly the way to go. We may end up using 2 coin batteries, I think, but the possibility of putting a resistor in at some point in the line, but that'll probably all be done at the bottom in the base. But at the moment, wiring's looking good and the lighting is coming along, so we'll go from here and we'll start thinking about how we're going to start putting this all back together, making it the wires come through ready for their contact points, and try and seal this up, and we can move on. Okay, right, I've managed to connect all the wiring together for the interior lights, and drilled holes into the bottom here where they'll connect up to the brass plates once they've been glued on. As you can see, all the wiring is sort of just tucked up inside. Just get inside there. Okay, what I'll do now is I'll put some glue in and fill this up and glue this in. Now there will be as you can see, a very large seam line or seam going around there, so that'll have to be addressed. Once the glue is set, then we'll put some filler in. Okay, right, whilst we're waiting for the bottom part of the shuttle to, or the actual crew cab to actually dry up, put the clamps in because it's not exactly a flush fit. What I'll be doing now is I'm going to start wiring up the LED for the front, or the rear, sorry, navigation light. I've already got a resistor on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I quickly wire these together. What I have got here is some solder paste, which helps aid the adhesion, and also helps to get rid of the coating on the magnet wire, which it's that small you can't actually see it, but we'll give it a go. So what I do is I dip into the solder paste, get hold of my soldering iron, little dab of solder, and then go over the end, which then melts the enamel and also puts on a thin layer of solder. Now whilst the actual LED is in the holder there, just put a little bit of paste on the end there, and again a little dollop of solder, hold that over the resistor, quick dab, and she's all done. And as you can see, I'm pulling on that, it's that strong, it's actually moving it. Now we'll do that again. So again, dip the magnet wire into the paste, dab of solder, as you can see the smoke is coming off it, it's melting the again melting the enamel, and then just a quick dab into the paste, and then grab hold of the magnet wire and turn it around so I can get to a better angle. Well, we've still got enough solder on there, and then quick dab, and again she's all nice. Clean the tip of the soldering iron before we put it down. Okay, just turn that off. No, actually we won't. What I will do, actually, thinking about it, whilst we've got the wire and everything out, I'll just put some terminals, or just put some lead solder on the other end. That didn't quite take. Again, back into the paste. There we go. So that's one. Again, and a quick dollop of solder. There we go. So that's that. Again, wipe the soldering iron. Now we'll turn that off, and we'll give the LED a test with a coin cell. Now people will notice that I'm actually using just red magnet wire, but I will mark it up in a little while, and as we can see, that's perfect. So what I do, just so I don't actually get myself mixed up and forget where I am, is if I can find it, there we go, it's just to get a Sharpie and just on a few spaces, it's just to mark up the negative in a black, negative always being the side where the resistor isn't. And if people, if you don't know, on a actual LED, the positive, the terminal is the longer of the two, but when we are sort of restricted for space, we cut them down, and so then once we put the resistor on, we still know which side is the positive, but then once that's all hidden up, we've still got the black identification on the wire to show which one's the negative. Okay, so that's that. That's a little quick tutorial for you, and we'll now carry on. Okay, there was one thing I forgot to mention before we do anything else. We will actually put some heat shrink tubing on there. Okay, I usually put it on with the positive where the actual resistor is. Now, to actually get that to conform to the shape and to make it all nice and tight, I'll just turn my soldering iron back on, and I'll just use the side of the tip, which should be nice and warm. And as we go along, you should be able to see that shrinking up. And that will then prevent any shorts, just in case anything sort of moves around where it shouldn't, and cause problems for us. There we go. Turn that off. There we go. One shrink wrapped. There we go. And if we can just make that out, there we go. That's better. Okay. So that will now stop any shorts or anything that might occur. And what we'll do now is we'll get that installed onto the back end of the shuttle ramp, if you like. I've already made the hole and sort of just beveled it out so that it'll sit in there nicely, and I've made the, as you're probably aware, made the hole corresponding, or the groove inside there, so that the resistor will sit in there nice and snug so everything fits down nicely. Right, so I'll get this mounted inside there and then we'll see how she looks. Okay, right, well, I've super glued in the LED, as we can see, and the effect is going to be quite nice. There we go. Not overpowering, but once we've got some canopy glue in there as well, that'll help to diffuse it a little bit. But being a proper LED with a very faint or very thin layer of resin over the top of it, it's going to show through a bit more, but I think we can live with that. But yeah, that's going to look good. Okay, we'll carry on. Alright, okay, so we've been moving on, and what I've been actually doing is making some more holes and channels for the bulbs or the LEDs and their resistors to sit in nicely. As you can see, there's a lot of gouging and hole making. What I've also decided to do, which I will try and put a picture in to show what I mean, but on the actual sled itself there was what appears to be 3 vents. Now those are protruding vents on the model. On the actual studio model they're actually inverted, so they're actually inward. So what I'll actually do is I'll make the grill that goes onto the front there. What I've also done is I've made the front panel so that once all the lighting has been put in and this part is actually glued into place, there'll be a front panel that then goes like so, and that will also help to then close off the bottom where the front navigation stroke flasher light will go. Okay, what I will do is also, before we button that all up, I'll run some magnet wire through the grooves that I'll put in and fill those up, and then we can then carry on from there. Right, but what I have done, as you can probably see, is I've put the brass strips in. Now I've connected them up and put the magnet in. One thing I'd forgot to do when I actually buttoned up the actual shuttle itself was I actually forgot to put the magnet in, so I had to make a hole and put it in from this side rather than using it as it should be from inside, but I believe that's going to make it a little bit stronger. Also the brass strips are already been, wires have been soldered in and stuck to the bottom of the sled as well. Now at first one strip wasn't high enough to actually make the contacts work with the actual lights inside the shuttle, but now, so if we get this linked up with the magnet, there we go, and as you can see, she's not going to fall off, and makes a lovely perfect contact so that the lights will work when the shuttle's on the sled, but like I say, when it comes off they turn off. Okay, there we go, and back again, and they're on. Now what I will do is, it doesn't matter if they get painted, because what I'll do is I'll just then sand the paint off, because it actually looks quite realistic as it is, so we'll keep that. Right, what we'll do now is we'll carry on doing some more modifications, and I'll also start making the grills for the front vents. Okay. Okay, right, so we're moving on. As you can see, we've got the bottom half of the underside already fitted into place. All the wires have been fed through. I've also put in some wires through the supports and put some filler in. Okay, that's going to need a lot of sanding and smoothing out. I've also put in the flashing LED. You can just see that. There we go. And also put in the front vents, or at least the actual fronts of those, so that when the actual plate that will add a little bit of extra detail to the bottom goes into place, that should then, there we go, seal that up nicely. That'll all look complete. Right, well, also whilst that was drying, I started making holes on the rear nacelle vents, or engines if you like, the impulse engines, so that I could cut them out. And what I'll do in there is once this is all ready to be assembled, I'll put in some clear polystyrene or acetate and just scribe in some grills, and then once that's all lit up, that'll be great. Which I've also made a start on. The chiller grills won't be lit up because in the movie they weren't actually done so they'll just get painted either a metallic grey or a matte black. But I've started putting a pilot hole so that we can then make a larger one to put in the orange LED that will then power up the impulse engine, so that once the cap is on the end and then the plate with the grid work goes in, that'll all look nice. Okay, well I think that's it for this video. Hope you're liking, hope you're subscribing as well. Do leave any comments and criticisms or advice or anything that you'd like to in the box below. Also like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video. So be good to each other, go and make a model. Bye for now.